Hello and welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is Shelby. Thank you so much for being here and clicking on today's video. If you are new here, I am so excited to have you along with me for today's video because we are going to be getting into the 5 books that I would recommend to you based off of the 92 books I have read so far this year, which is really mind-blowing, and I don't know how I have managed to read that many books in the year. That is not the average for me. Please do not get hung up on that number because, like I said, that is not the average. So I am pleasantly surprised. But yeah, I have some books that I want to talk to you guys about today. So let's get into it. Hopefully some of these you can add to your list for the end of the year or the beginning of the new year so that you'll have some books to kind of just dive right into. Hey and welcome or welcome back to the channel. My name is Shelby and today I have a very exciting video. I have read 92 books so far this year, which is crazy to think, and please don't get hung up on that number. That is not the average for me, and this has well exceeded my hopes for this year, so I am very happy about that. But also, if you ask me how I did it, I really don't know. Somehow the reading bug bit me hard this year, and I just couldn't put the books down. But with that being said, today, out of those 92 books, I'm going to be talking about the 5 books that I would recommend from the books that I have read so far this year. So let's get into the video because I'm very excited to talk about these books with you guys. I do also just want to say a huge thank you if you are watching this video and you're here with me right now. I really appreciate you being here. It does mean a lot to me because you are supporting me in my hopes and dreams of making content for others and just being a safe and warm and welcoming place for others to come and discuss books and other things to do with life. But thank you so much for being here, and now let's get into the video. All right, I am not going to talk about these books in any particular order, so we're just going to kind of go off the top here. Now, the one book that I do not have physically, because I did read the book through audiobook as well as the ebook version, is Margot's Got Money Troubles, and this is by Rufi Throp, I believe is the author's name. This book, I've been wanting to read this book for quite some time. I want to say probably since the beginning of the year, this book has been like really kind of continuously popped up in my on my radar, and I didn't really know a whole lot about it, but the cover was really intriguing, and what I read from the synopsis sounded really interesting. And it basically follows a young girl named Margot, and she is in college right now and is kind of having like an affair with one of her professors, and she ends up having a baby with that said professor. We flash forward a little bit, and now Margot is a mom, and she is really struggling to make ends meet, and she just doesn't know how she is going to be able to do that. So she decides to create an OnlyFans. That is the only thing I knew about the book and what I could go off of, and that's pretty much the gist. Now, I thought this book was going to be a lot more like kind of comical or a little bit ridiculous, so I really didn't know how I was going to feel about this book, but the idea sounded really interesting. But I'm so glad that I ended up picking this up. Yes, there are definitely some moments of relief with like some comical elements added in. There's a lot of really interesting characters. One of the characters that I actually ended up having kind of like a love-hate relationship with is Margot's dad. I won't go too deep into that, but Margot's dad is famous and or has a famous persona about him, I would say, and based off of his profession, and didn't really have him in her life all that much. And now he's kind of got a big part in her life since having this child. And I thought that the dynamic between the two was actually quite heartwarming, but at the same time, there was a particular moment where I was like, oh my God, like you were doing so well and you're messing it up. Like you're having such a great relationship with your daughter and you're messing it up. That was a little bit frustrating, but I think overall, I really enjoyed him as a character in this book. And of course, I loved Margot. I would definitely recommend this book to you because it got a little bit of everything. This one is I think, categorized in terms of genres as like a literary fiction, which it definitely reads like that. And I say that because, like I said, I was thinking this was going to be a lot more like kind of comical. You can't really take it too serious. And yes, there are definitely moments where you're like, oh my God, this is like crazy. But it felt really realistic. Like I could actually see someone doing this. And I'm sure obviously there are people that are obviously doing this, but like in the sense of like why Margot decided to go ahead and do this, like I could see that being a real situation. So yeah, I don't know. And it dives a lot deeper than just like, oh hey, I need to make some money. Like it really kind of plays with like the psyche and stuff like that. And you see like all the trials and tribulations that Margot is going through just to kind of provide the best life that she really can for her child. So I would highly recommend this book. I think I ended up giving this one a 4 stars. I loved it. And it's one of the more recent books that I read this year. So I think gearing towards the end of the year is when I really started to find like some of these really, really great reads. So that just goes to show if you haven't really gotten yourself, if you haven't really found a lot of books that you really, really enjoyed this year, there is still hope and there's still time. All right, let's move on to the next book that I have here. This one is another very, very recent read for me. I think I read this last month for our buddy read pick, and this is Blood Over Brighthaven, and this is by M.L. Wong. This book was so good, and I didn't even know anything about it. I remember seeing a lot of people talking about it, and then I remember going into Barnes & Noble's. It was on display. And I think this book came out last year, if I'm not mistaken. But I just kept seeing the cover everywhere, essentially. And my best friend Jessica decided to pick this book up for her buddy read choice for last month. And I was really, really happy that she did, because I was honestly starting to contemplate picking this book up with actually not really knowing anything about the book. And so when we did pick it up, I wasn't sure what I was going to think about it when I first got into it. We kind of give ourselves the first chapter to kind of like feel our way through and see if we're enjoying it. And the first chapter really was just kind of like an introduction to, I think, the chaos that was going to ensue later on in the book, but I didn't really know how that was going to piece together with what then happens in the next like half of the book, or the rest of the book essentially. But this one basically follows a couple of two people in particular. One is a young lady who is determined to become what we call a high mage in this book, which are basically only men in this world, and she would be the first high mage as a female. And so we kind of follow her journey on trying to do that, which they kind of like hold the power, I guess, in this community essentially, or this world. And there is a magical system that's built in, of course. So these typewriters here are like how they interact and kind of create these spells to do different things with magic. And we just kind of see how determined this young lady is in being able to do that and just really following her dreams. But of course, with any type of fantasy, there's a lot of corruption and stuff within. And then we meet our male main character, and he is kind of not welcomed in this world because he comes from a different place, essentially, and he is kind of considered like lower class. So he is a janitor just trying to make ends meet, and he is trying to just support himself and his family. And they kind of tag team together, and chaos ensues, of course. But this book was so good. It is a little bit on the bigger side. I can't remember how many pages this one is. Not anything crazy. For a fantasy book, it could have been a lot worse. But it does leave off on kind of like a cliffhanger, I would say. And I believe that there's going to be another book. Don't quote me on that. But yeah. This one is 417 pages, so not too bad, but it is a little bit of a bigger book. I enjoyed this one so much. I had a great time with it. I mean, from start to finish, there was so much happening, and it got very, very action-packed near the end. And one thing I love is when an author is not afraid to make bold moves or bold decisions with their characters, and we definitely see that in this book. So I would highly recommend, if you're looking for something that is a little bit more on the high stakes side, something with some fun and adventure and some magical kind of elements and a little sprinkle of romance in there, this is a good one to go ahead and pick up. Next book I have here, I actually read over the summer, and I had been wanting to pick this up since it came out, but that is going to be My Friends by Frederick Bachman. And this one is actually a pretty decent sized book, but I think the font, yeah, the font is pretty big in size, but it just feels like a massive book. This one is 434 pages. But this one basically follows a young lady who is really going through a lot. She has just recently lost a friend. She is in the, what do you call it? Why can't I think of it right now? I can't think of the word. Oh gosh, what is the word I'm looking for? She is in the foster care system, so she has really just got a lot going on. But one thing that really, really matters to her is just art and the expression of art. And she has this one particular artist and this painting that she just really loves and can see the bigger picture or the bigger message that this author was trying to convey, because she, like the artist, is an artist herself. And we kind of meet her in the beginning where she is looking at the artwork that this particular artist has created, which is basically what you're seeing on the cover of the book. But they are auctioning off the artwork and stuff like that, and she is really just quite honestly fed up, because here are these rich people that have no idea what this painting is really about. They only look at it and just say, oh, that's really nice, I'm gonna just throw a lot of money at it, and that really infuriates her. So she then runs into what looks like a homeless man on the street who is not doing so well, and learning more about this artist. But I found this book just so heartwarming and heartbreaking and beautiful. It really tells the story of this group of friends and how the painting came to be and how the artist came to be, and a newfound family. There's just so many beautiful elements that are in this book, and it was very, very touching. So I would highly recommend this book. You may need some tissues handy. I'm a sensitive gal, so I definitely it was pulling on my heartstrings when I was reading this book, and there were definitely moments in this book that were a lot harder to, I guess, get through than others. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book, so I would highly recommend it. If you haven't picked it up yet, go get it. Go get it. It is so worth the read. And honestly, this is my third Frederick Bachman book. Yeah, because I read the first two Beartown books, and then this one. Don't ask me why I haven't finished the Beartown series. I just feel like I need a minute, okay? It's a lot. It is a lot. And if you've ever read Frederick Bachman, some of those elements that are within, like, Beartown and stuff like that, like, I feel like he portrays very well. Like, he really knows how to portray real people and make you feel like these characters are real, tangible, and relatable characters. Like, I love when people can do that. It makes it all the more believable and honestly a lot more entertaining for me. So the next book that I have to share with you was my most recent read, and a book that I have kind of been eyeballing pretty much since we bought it this year, and that is going to be Stephen King's The Shining. Now, Stephen King made it to my favorite book of the year last year with 11/22/63, and that one was different because it was really more like sci-fi based to me. This one is, I think, more in the horror category of sorts, but that is why I was really terrified to pick this book up, because I just wasn't really sure what those like elements were going to look like, if I was going to be like actually really scared. I didn't know. But long story made short, I loved this book. I ended up giving this book a 5 stars, and it was just I ended up giving this book a 4.5 stars. It was very close to a 5-star read. I explain more about that in my reading vlog, which I have already filmed. I'm in the process of editing. I don't know if this one or the next or the video, I don't know if this video or the reading vlog will go up next. So you may have already seen the reading vlog, but if not, stay tuned because then next week I will have the reading vlog up if it's not already up. This was just such a fast-paced read for me. I started it Tuesday of last week and I finished it on Saturday. I couldn't put this book down, and this one is a big book. This one is like over 600 pages, but it was so good, so basic, but it was a really fast-paced read. This basically follows our main character, Jack, and his family. He has a wife, Wendy, and then his son, Danny, and Jack has lost his job due to some circumstances that we will not dive into because I don't want to give too much away. But he is now being offered an opportunity to go manage this hotel, I believe, in like the mountains of Colorado during the winter months. Now, if you know anything about Colorado, they get a lot of snow. And just so happens where this hotel is, they tend to get snowed in. Like, it's not like, oh, okay, you're trapped for a couple of days or a week. No, you could be trapped there for like a month or more. So, he is going to take his family up there and manage the hotel. And that is kind of where we begin the book. We are at the beginning of the book, he is going through the interview process. And then we also get some backstory on Jack and his family. Now, Jack has his wife, Wendy, and he has a little boy named Danny who is about 5 to 6 years old in this book. And Danny is quite an interesting little boy. He is not your normal average 5-6-year-old. He talks way older than his years, and there's a reason why that is. And I think all of that is really important because it ties everything together. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I do intend to watch it because I feel like that's really going to bring this book to life. There are definitely, I've seen clips of the movie in the past, and there are definitely moments in this book that I was able to think about and view as the as like from what I've seen from the movie. But another thing that's also really great is because I know who played the mom and the dad in the movie, I kind of was able to picture them as the characters in the book, which was really great. But this book was so good. There was definitely some moments where I was like, oh my God, this is getting to be too much and too intense, but it was so good. And there are also a lot of moments of foreshadowing and kind of alluding to things or giving hints to things, especially when we start talking about like the family's past. So yeah, I don't know. This was just honestly such a good book, and all of the like scarier elements, like the real build up to everything, doesn't really happen until like the last, I would say maybe 10 chapters in the book. That is where we start to really kind of propel things forward. Pretty much in the beginning, you get a lot of backstory and you just kind of follow the family at this hotel and managing it and things like that. But all that I thought was going to be really boring, but it wasn't. Like, I was hooked. I was reading like 100 pages to 200 pages at a time because it was just like I couldn't put it down. So if you haven't read that one yet, highly recommend that you do. All right, my final book of this video, and this one is actually, I think, going to be dubbed my favorite book of the year, which is crazy. But I had a feeling when I was reading this book, and if you have watched the reading vlog or seen my TikToks, then you will also know and not probably be surprised by the book that I'm about to share with you, but that is going to be Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. Honestly, thinking about it, I could cry right now. Like, I could cry right now. And that just tells me so much about my feelings towards this book. Like, this book, this book was so good and so beautiful and just thoroughly, I really thoroughly enjoyed this book. Like, I cannot tell you how fast I devoured this book. Oh my God. Okay. I cannot tell you how fast I devoured this book. It basically follows two sisters during World War II. And these two sisters, it takes place in a few different places, but the sisters are not together. One is in France. The other is, are they both in France? They might both be in France. I think it starts off where they're both in France, actually. But then the younger sister kind of ventures off and starts doing her own thing. The older sister is a mom. Her husband has just been sent off to war. She has got a lot going on, and she's trying to keep things as normal as possible for her daughter, and also be a support system for her community and her friends. She has actually a friend in this book who is Jewish, and there's just so much that happens. There's just so much that happens in this book. But it is one of those books that is going to pull at your heartstrings. If you do not cry reading this book, I will be absolutely shocked by it, because there are just so many hard moments that you experience when reading this book. I mean, obviously losing people, being separated from your family and just not knowing what's going on, if they're okay. The descriptions of the brutal winters that took place during this time, and just how you can see these two sisters just change and evolve from the start through the course of the years until the end of the war is just they really had to be strong. These women in this story were just built different. And I think that really encapsulates how people during this time really they were different. They just had to, because there was no other choice. They had to try to do everything that they possibly could to survive and do what they could for their family, because there was no choice. And I just feel like that was just, I don't know, that was just a really important message and a really amazing reminder to be grateful for what I do have right now, even though life is not all, rosy. It is not what they have been experienced. That's not what they experienced here, and I hope to not have to experience anything like that, because that's crazy. But yeah, I just can't. I don't want to say too much, because I will completely overshare with this book. All I can really and truly say to you is you need to pick up this book. Like, I cannot stress this enough. This book is very, very hyped up, but it is hyped up for a reason. I looked on Goodreads and I saw a lot of people and their opinions on this book. I would say if you are looking at those reviews, some of the more negative reviews, and it's kind of made you second guess or think twice about it, please don't. I just want to say, this is a fictional story, but Kristen Hanna even talks about it at the end, her research and how this book came to be. She wrote another book, I think before this one, called Winter Gardens or something along those lines. And while doing her research for that book, she learned of the story about, that is how she started developing the story for this book. And I just thought that this was just so beautiful. And for some reason, I didn't think I was going to be a big historical fiction reader. I didn't think I would enjoy that, but I think this year I found that historical fiction is actually one of my favorite genres, but it is a genre that I have to read sparingly, because it does take a really big mental toll on me just to imagine what people were going through during this time, or any time period, because there's just so much that has happened in the world over years and years and centuries of being on this planet. But yeah, I don't know. And I'm also just such a big, when we learned about World War II in school growing up, that has always really stuck with me for some reason, because I just found it so disgusting that one person could kind of wreak so much havoc on the world and people's lives just because they didn't like someone, or they didn't like someone's religion or whatever it is. And you still see those things today. And I think that's what also makes this book very relatable in a sense, because you can kind of understand based off of what we do know of history and what we see still to this day, how people treat other people that are different from them. So yeah, I don't know. This was just, I need to stop talking about it because I'm going to get very emotional. There was another book that I read by Kristen Hanna this year, and I was going to put it on the list, but I was like, let's just do one Kristen Hanna book. We don't need all of her library on the video. But I will say, if you are interested in reading the other book, that was The Women, and that one takes place during the Vietnam War. And that one was told completely different, but still very emotionally impacting. So if you're looking for some historical reads, those are two that I would highly recommend it to you guys. And if you didn't know this, this book is getting turned into a movie. And from what I do know, the main characters are going to be played by Ella and Dakota Fanning. I don't know if that's actually confirmed, but that's the rumor that I've heard. And funny enough, Margot's Got Money Troubles is also being turned into an Apple TV show that I think is coming out next year. And Margot is being played by Ella Fanning. Funny, she's made an appearance twice on this video now in the productions or the film productions of these books. But that is all that I have for you guys today. If you have found any of these books intriguing, let me know what you want to read down below. If there's any videos that you'd like to see me do, reading vlogs, challenges, anything like that, let me know in the comments down below. But until the next video, I hope you have a great one if it's the holidays for you when you're watching this, and I wish you a very happy holiday, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.